Hello, and welcome to Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello. I'm a family and obesity medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach for physicians. In this podcast, we talk about how the learned habits of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and a lack of boundaries show up in our lives and how they contribute to burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm. The healthcare system is broken, my friends, but let's not wait for it to be fixed in order to feel better. So tell me what happens when you find yourself with a pocket of unexpected free time. There's nothing scheduled, and again, you weren't expecting it. What happens in your brain? Now, some of you are going to say, yeah, I would hop on the couch with a good book. I would call my friend. I would maybe lay down and take a nap. I would go play with my kids. But for some of us, we would immediately be flooded with all of the working things that we could do, right? We see that there's laundry. We see that there are charts undone. We see that there's an inbox. We might have to check the inbox. There might be something important in there. We might need to research, and that might be medical research, but it might also be, well, I obviously need to find the best language program in order for me to learn Spanish, because that would be a really good idea. And I don't speak Spanish, but I don't know which program to use, right? So I'm going to go down the rabbit hole rather. This is a common pattern for many of us, that when we find ourselves with unscheduled time, we don't know what to do, but we immediately jump into some kind of work, whether that is work or home work. And it prevents us from being able to live the full lives that we want, to feel like we can get rest. And so if that sounds familiar to you, today we are going to be diving into why this happens, what patterns we're bringing into it, and start to do some work on getting unstuck. Because there will always be more work to do than any of us could possibly do in one lifetime. And I think most of us would benefit from having more time spent not working. So buckle up, here we go. Now, before we jump into the reasons why this might happen, we need to acknowledge that during medical school, we were all given a gift. We were given the gift of starting to believe that we could do just about anything. We could learn how to intubate people. We could learn how to evaluate them and figure out, why is this person in pain? Why is their body sick? We could learn how to do brain surgery. We needed to hold the belief that we humans could do the challenging work of being physicians. And this is an important thing, right? We needed to have that belief. The dark side of this belief, though, is that for many of us, we also started to believe that that meant that we should do everything. Again, think about the things that you did in medical school. Now, I'm old enough to remember that we did not have smartphones when I was in medical school, so we had to calculate anion gaps by hand, often, I believe, without a calculator, because I do not remember carrying a calculator around. And a lot of things like that. We also did plenty of scut work that was not at all related to the practice of medicine, but might have been important to the clinic or the hospital. And somebody just told us to do it, and we went and did it, right? We could do just about anything. And some of us internalize that to believe that we should do everything. Now, if anyone knows how to have my husband listen to this episode, please tell me, because I know he will not, and this is something that we are working on in my house. We come by this honestly, my friends. Because we believe that we can learn to do anything, that has many of us believing that we should do everything. That might mean doing our own taxes. It might be doing our own home repairs. It might be fixing the car, right? Any number of things, because we believe that we're smart, competent humans. Some of us may have struggled financially, especially during medical school and residency, couldn't afford to do anything else. Maybe we carried that legacy from before. We come by this overworking very honestly, and it's really important that we see that so that we get out of judgment And we can come to this question with curiosity. Why am I like this? This belief, right, that maybe I should do everything drives us to overwork. It is compounded by a broken healthcare system where we can very easily see that there is not the right distribution of resources to go around, and is very uneven, and we can see that everywhere in medicine. And the chef's kiss here is our compassion, right? We want to be the nice one. We know that our patients need our care. We get told, well, this is your patient, so it's your responsibility, right? And we really take that to heart because we know it's another human who needs our help and expertise. And of course, the fear of malpractice and neglect, right? We don't want to be accused of not having done enough. Or we worry that, oh gosh, did I do the right thing? And we overwork and over-research and overthink, right? These are behaviors that are incredibly baked into the practice of medicine. If you don't struggle with these, fantastic, not a problem. But the rest of us, this is a very real problem that we struggle with. And again, we're going to start to unpack that today. So the groundwork is really important here because it's really essential that we see that there is nothing wrong with us. These are learned patterns of behavior. For you, it may have started in childhood, especially if you grew up with the good girl phenomenon or good boy phenomenon, where you were always the one who did the right things, right? You were always the hardworking one, the one who just, excelled at everything. There's nothing wrong with you. And if you've gotten to however old you are and you find yourself still struggling because you don't know how to turn that work thing off, let's just see that this is a consequence of years and years and years of conditioning. Again, it may have been with you since young childhood, and that may have come from socialization. It may have come from legitimate need. If you grew up in a household where your active participation in work was needed by the adults or by siblings or friends, right? But I will tell you again that at the very least, this was reinforced in us during medical school, probably at least sometime before. And this pattern of overworking is deeply entrenched. When physicians come to me and, we're working on this in coaching sessions, people will just see like, no, this is just who I am. This is just me. But we think of this as a personality trait. It's not a simple personality trait. It's also years and years of culturalization. So it takes some digging to find the patterns. It takes some work to undo it. But again, that's what we're here to do today. We're here to start busting up those patterns. We can't do that without seeing it. And we can't do it well without getting out of judgment or feeling like we are just broken. We are the problem. We are the ones who are wrong. So if we want to change, again, we're going to need to stay out of judgment and just get curious. Why does it keep happening that when I have the opportunity to rest, when I find myself with some free time, I'm always jumping right into something to do with work? Again, that might be work around the house. It might be work, because in this day and age, right, we are constantly connected to our workplaces. Now, some of you are connected to your workplaces through your phone, right? So you can log into whatever your EMR is on your phone, which really means it travels with you everywhere. For others of us, it is as close as a computer. And who of us is very far away from a computer at any given time, right? We go on vacations and we might be charting by the pool. We literally just bring the work everywhere. Again, I'll date myself a little bit. I grew up with pagers. We had pagers that we had to contact. It was really cool if you had an alphanumeric pager so you could actually send a message and just send instead of sending a number. But today, we don't carry pagers for the most part. You might carry a pager because people don't answer their phones, but your phone is the constant ping, right? That there's work to be done. And again, that might be work at home, but it might also be work at work that is constantly connecting to you. That layer makes it very real and hard when we're trying to unlearn the overworking. But we also need to look at the patterns of thought that we have the ways that we feel and how that's driving us to overwork. And again, figure out, what is it in my habits? What about my patterns can I start to see so that I can start to get out of this mode, right? Constantly feel on edge, constantly feel like I need to use up all of my free time working, because we are not meant to live that way. You definitely needed to go through periods of time where you had intense workloads. Again, medical school and residency and fellowship if you did it. When you are a parent and you have a very young newborn infant child, right? That is a period of intense work. When you have a puppy, right? Similarly, there's a lot of work that goes into that. We are not meant to stay in that constantly. It is important that we have both rest in our day to day and during the week, but also seasons of rest, times when we have lower responsibility, right? That is part of the balance that is necessary for our health and happiness as humans. So, today we're going to talk about 3 very specific patterns that I see at play here. There are certainly more than what we're going to talk about today, but these are 3 really common ones and ones that we can start to do some work on just by listening to the podcast. So as I talk through these patterns, I want you to tune in and I want you to say, is that me? Is that something that I struggle with? Because we're probably going to uncover something, at least one thing that you find yourself doing. And let's think about if we can let that go. So, number 1 is that thought, I should be able to do it all. I should be able to do it all. Now, many of us are carrying around this thought. And again, it comes from a very legitimate place. You were told you should be able to do it all, explicitly and implicitly. And we can all look around at examples of mentors, attendings, right? People who did seem to do it all. Do we want their lives? Maybe. Did they really do it all? Don't know, right? There are layers to this that we can't see. And of course, we don't know how they felt inside. All we saw was from the outside. And you, my friends, are probably putting out a side that looks like she or he has got it all together, like there's no struggle, because we are taught to stay calm. We are taught to be unemotional. Because of that, it is very easy for people to think that you're not struggling when you are. So if we are looking like we are, all in control, we've got it all together, we have it all figured out, we're carrying this thought of, I should be able to do it all, it is not a healthy way to be. The way that we can start here is we are going to engage with common humanity. And the first thing I want you to do is to dump out the list of all of the things that you think you should be able to do. That includes the actual workload that you have, including seeing the patients, coming up with a diagnosis or next steps, writing a note, keeping up on results, connecting with your team, connecting with other physicians and providers, kind of in your network and on your team, being able to show up as a leader in the space that you are, because we as the physicians are the leaders in some respect. Even if we don't have actual command of the people, we're seen as the ones in charge and we set the tone. Let's keep going, right? What else is on your plate? There are other responsibilities that you have clinically. There might be other responsibilities that you have in teaching or administration that are part of your role. There may be things that you are asked to do that you never get to. And then there's also all of the work that goes into staying up to date with CME, staying up to date with your licensure and, malpractice and whatever, all those little administrative things that are pertinent to you, but not necessarily your employer or your workplace. They do matter, right? Obviously, if your license lapses, but your workplace probably doesn't take care of your license renewal for you. They probably remind you, sometimes unkindly, and we could go into all sorts of ridiculous stories about that. But just to say you are the one who actually has to do it, right? So the business of you also is a chunk of work that needs to be maintained and done. And then what else in your life, right? What else in your home and family life? What other responsibilities do you have? Are you a partner, a spouse? Are you, the child of elderly parents or other adults in your life, right, that need support? Do you have human babies or fur babies? Do you have a home that you have to maintain? Do you have friendships that you need to maintain? Do you have other responsibilities, right? Sometimes people have a side hustle that they're doing, clinically or otherwise. What are all of the things? And then what else are you layering on there, telling yourself that you should do? Are you telling yourself that you should be keeping up with your own lawn care? Are you telling yourself that you should learn how to speak Spanish because that would really be helpful? Right? Many of us are piling on additional responsibilities. We have to let that all dump out. Thankfully, you don't even have to pull out pen and paper, my friends, because you have your phone and you could literally just brain dump into your phone, into your notes app, into ChatGPT, into wherever you like, and see what is this whole list? And then ask yourself, if my friend came to me and they showed me this list and said, I can't figure out why I can't get all of this stuff done, what would you say to them? This is important because we have to both dump it all out, right, to see the magnitude of the things that we are probably trying to do because we think I should be able to do it all. And then we have to look at it with that lens of self-compassion, common humanity. Do I think it's reasonable that any human should be able to do all of this and should feel rested and have time to sleep and eat and, hopefully go to the bathroom, maybe exercise? Do I really think that one human is capable of all of this? If we could do this on a semi-regular basis, we'd finally get to the place where we're probably laughing at ourselves and say, there I go again, thinking I should be able to do this all. No one human can do all of this, right? It's not reasonable. And there is a sneaky dark side, right, to all the tech that we use too, because the tech has enabled us all to do so much more, to do it, to have it with us all of the time, that again, a lot of us have taken on additional responsibility because we think, but yeah, I can go on YouTube, right, and I can figure this out. I can type into ChatGPT and it will tell me exactly what to do. That doesn't mean that you should be doing your own taxes, right? But because we can get that information, right, and we can read and we can absorb, it has many of us thinking, it's just reinforcing that thought, right? I should be able to do it all. If we look at the list, right, and we ask ourselves the question, if my friend came to me and shared this list with me, would I say, yep, you should be able to do that all? We can start to see that, nope, that was ridiculous. And when our brain feeds us that, I should be able to do it all, right? I've got a pocket of unscheduled time. Maybe I want to think about doing something fun, but my brain immediately tells me again that I should be learning Spanish. I should be, taking care of the lawn. I should call my mother, whatever those things are, right? I should. I can hop in there with a sentence and I can say, I feel like I should do some work because I'm very well trained at doing all of the things. But it actually isn't reasonable. It actually isn't true that I need to be doing all of these things, right? It isn't true. It isn't reasonable. It isn't important to me. I can guarantee you that if you sat down and looked at the list, you would find that some of the things that your brain is telling you that you should do aren't that important to you. They might be important, and some of those things are things that need to be done. Do they need to be done by you? And are they more important than other things that actually are important to you or just flat out important? Right? We'll have to look at the list a little bit in that lens as well. So when our brains tell us, I feel like I should be able to do it all, this is the way that we can start to counteract that message. I feel like I should be able to do it all, but actually, it's not true. It's not actually reasonable for me to do all of this myself. All right, let's talk about a different pattern, and that is the achievement itch. Now, this also is something that is very learned, right? We can think about, books with titles like, I Don't Know How She Does It All, right? This idea that we're supposed to be doing it all. We love earning gold stars, right? When you are someone who is well known for getting a lot of stuff done, for doing a lot of stuff well, to the person who was maybe the valedictorian in high school, who also was the captain of the volleyball team and opened a clinic in Guatemala, right? And still got straight A's, right? All of the things. We have derived an incredible amount of dopamine over the years from being the one who was great, right? Being the one who was great, easy, the smartest, the most accomplished. That is a very real pattern that many of us have lived in. And until we see that we are over reliant on getting our dopamine from achievements, we will keep doing it. Especially as all the responsibilities continue to mount and people are looking up to us, people are respecting us, they want to know what we are thinking about, they want to know what we advise, right? The list of responsibilities becomes so enormous that no one of us could manage it all. But because we feel good helping other people, being thought of as the dependable one, being thought of as, the person who is a really great problem solver. We want to help people, right? We will continue to seek dopamine only by achieving things. And that doesn't leave us with enough room to enjoy our lives as humans in other ways. It doesn't allow us to receive help from other people or to enjoy things that are not work related or again task related, things that you can check off your box and get that hit of dopamine about at home. We need to come up with other ways to take care of ourselves, other ways to find enjoyment. Again, we're going to bring compassion in here because we can see that we want to feel good. Again, imagine this scenario where we've got a little bit of unscheduled time. Maybe we would like to go out for a walk. Maybe we would like to cuddle a pet. Maybe we would like to take a nap. But our brain is just like, nope, nope, nope. We need to do something to feel good. We obviously have to do a task to get there. Let us pause and recognize what is going on. Recognize that our brain is just hungry for something that feels good, and traditionally it feels good to accomplish something. When we're working on this pattern, we're going to have to sit in the discomfort of choosing not to do the thing to get the hit of dopamine, even though the thing that we're trying to do is probably a good thing to do, right? Learning Spanish to try and help your patients who speak Spanish is a lovely thing to do. It may be important, and you may not have the time and energy to do it. And right now, we're looking at a small pocket of time. Can we sit in the discomfort of recognizing that there are many good things that we could do, but we are trying to learn the habit of being able to relax, trying to learn the habit of being able to disengage and disconnect and feel more rested or more playful or more connected to someone or something else. And in so doing, we're going to need to sit in the discomfort of knowing that we're not being productive for just even a little bit of time. This is a really major one for many people because we hit that pocket of discomfort and we think we've done something wrong, right? There isn't something wrong when you decide to take a nap instead of, again, start using this half hour that you found to try and learn Spanish, right? Taking a nap and feeling rested and just really enjoying how that feels as a human is enough. And the discomfort of deciding that, yep, I'm not going to jump into that project of trying to learn Spanish is okay. But again, it might feel uncomfortable because you're being unproductive. We will not magically get out of this habit or thought of feeling uncomfortable with not being productive until we practice it. And we see that, oh, it's okay to feel good. It's okay to take care of myself. It's okay to know that I could do working things here, but I'm going to choose not to because I'm trying to be this person who takes care of myself in a different way, who tries to feel more rested, who tries to be more connected to her family, who just wants to spend more time being human and less time feeling like a physician, like a robot, like the person who's just always go, go, go. It takes some work to get there. And part of the work is allowing the discomfort. So when you notice the thought, I should be doing X, Y, or Z thing, can you just allow that thought to be there? Can you just remind yourself that you're learning something new and just see how that feels? It's okay for it to feel uncomfortable. There's a reason why it does, right? You're not used to it. So another place that I see this, and it's going to sound like very connected to what we've already talked about, and yet it's a different component. And that is, I can't rest until this thing is done. I can't rest until my list is completed. I can't rest until I've, I don't know, checked something, until I've, completed my notes, whatever that. I want to check, whose voice is that? Is it your voice? It might be, but it also might be a parent or a grandparent's voice. It might be one of your professors or an attending's voice. Whose voice is it? It's important to answer that question because we want to know how to talk back to that voice. Again, with kindness, compassion, we want to ask, who's saying that I can't rest until these things are done? And is that something that I choose to believe? Let's say you get home from work. You've had a very difficult day. You've still got 4 notes open. You're so tired you can't see straight. And you just want to go to bed. You feel like you've got a cold coming on. And yet also, you're like, I can't rest until those 4 notes are done. But there's nothing urgent there. That is a time when actually choosing to go to bed, leaving those notes for another time, sometime in the morning, sometime in the next day, and taking care of yourself is the kindness. Now, I don't love us, dragging our notes out and keeping them open indefinitely, right? Because that keeps open tabs in our brain. But we also don't want to be in the habit of compelling ourselves and pushing ourselves constantly when at that moment you're so tired, you just need to go to bed. Whose voice is it that's telling you? And what is the consequence involved? In this circumstance, let's play it out both ways, right? Let's say you stay up for another hour. It takes you an hour to do those 4 notes because you're not thinking straight. You're a little distracted. It's harder to actually get that done. Then your brain is really activated because it's just been thinking, it's just been trying to work really hard. So you choose to numb out with some TV or scrolling on your phone for another hour. And you finally drag yourself to bed. And now it's 11. You have to get up at 5. I don't know. You could make it worse hours than that if you want. And you wake up in the morning. You're exhausted. Your cold symptoms are worse, right? You're starting the day off absolutely on the wrong foot. Now, I can't guarantee you that if you chose to go to bed, you would feel better. But don't you think there's at least a chance that if you went to bed 2 hours earlier, if you got more sleep, if you laid yourself down to bed with kindness and said, it's okay, there's nothing urgent here, I will take care of it tomorrow. If you took care of yourself in that way, there's at least a higher chance that you would feel more rested and prepared for the next day. That even if you were sick, you were going to be a little bit more clear-headed and maybe able to make a better decision about whether or not you go to work sick or not. I would argue that too many of us go to work sick. That's a different story, right? But coming into that day more clear-headed is always going to help you. But if we listen to that voice, I can't rest until, we have to ask ourselves, what are the consequences here? And how far does that message go, right? Because sometimes that message becomes so intensive and so angry and so judgmental that we will absolutely never find a time, right, where we have done enough to get the rest. Now, again, some of this is going very far back into your childhood, perhaps. Some of it is not as far back, right? It's just this compulsion. But if things are constantly sort of clogging up your time, right? And you never feel like you can rest. And we look at that list again of the things that you feel like you ought to be able to do. And it's filled with both things like laundry that could be done by anybody, as well as things that only you can do, like renewing your license. You will never get to the end of that list. And because you will never get to the end of the list, you will never earn yourself some rest, right? This is a very real pattern. And it's not wrong to do the laundry. And yet, you just may not have the capacity to do it. And if you do not have the capacity to do it, and yet it's the easier thing than doing something that only that you can do, and you're never getting rest, and you're never getting to the end of your list, and you're constantly feeling behind and drowning, this is a part of burnout, right? It's this sense that I'm never going to get all of this done. And it's a very common and insidious pattern. We have to figure out what are all the parts connected to this. And it starts with seeing, where did I learn that I can't rest until these things are done? Again, who is saying it to me? Is it me? Do I need to work on my own voice, or is it something that I'm carrying with me from someone else? So we can start to figure out, what is the work for me to get out of this pattern, right? How do I start maybe assigning tasks to other people or hiring people to help me out with some of these things? Crossing some things off the list. Learning Spanish would be amazing. I've thought that many, many times, and yet it has never taken higher priority than all the other things that have come before it. And that's okay. I probably never will learn Spanish. That's okay. For some of you, that might be a higher priority. That's okay too, right? We all get to choose what the priorities are. But we have to get away from this idea that we can't rest until all the things are done, because they never will be. We're going to have to choose to intentionally schedule the rest, to intentionally take the time, to intentionally have some white space in our days sometime where we can just relax and just be human. Even if you have to put play on your calendar. Some of us need to do that. Now, there are, as I said, many other patterns that may be going on that are keeping you in this sense of always feeling like you need to fill up those free time pockets with work. And I'm going to go through some of them, but I want to acknowledge here that some of these ones are a lot stickier. Again, I think they're common, and I think that they deserve professional attention. They deserve you getting the help of other humans who have professional expertise in helping people to unpack them. Why do I say that? Again, because many of us think we should be able to solve these problems ourselves. And yet, in not connecting with someone who can help you, many of us are going to stay stuck in this because we won't be able to just read a book or listen to a podcast and get out of the habit, right? They are stickier. They are more deeply entrenched than what we've been talking about. Frankly, the things we've been talking about, fairly deeply entrenched, but I do believe that we can start to look at some of those things and start to make a difference. So other things that may be keeping you in this pattern: believing that you have to prove your worth or earn your keep. And that is the thought that constantly has you working because you never feel good enough. Now, some of that runs deeper for some of us than others of us, but it is often an area where professional help to help unravel that thought pattern and help to have some healing is really important. If we are feeling really numb and disconnected, That may be depression and anxiety. It may be chronic PTSD, right? There may be a mental health diagnosis that we would attach to it beyond burnout. We deserve to have appropriate help and attention to that, right? So if you feel yourself being that way, please reach out and connect with someone who can help you. There is nothing wrong with you if you need that help. And I would argue that so many of us do, and we do not engage and get the help that we deserve and support. But you need it and you deserve it. We might feel that no one else can ever do it right? There might be a really, really sticky piece of perfectionism in there that is just too deep to unravel on our own. Again, we may need some professional help there. We might be avoiding really intense emotional pain or a really difficult relationship. And again, we may need to connect with a coach or a therapist or a couples therapist or someone to really help us get into it. These are, again, common patterns that we can see, and they deserve help and support. Nothing is wrong with you if you find yourself in one of these patterns. And it takes more attention than simply listening to a podcast or reading a book. We deserve the same care and attention that we want to give to the humans that we serve, the humans that we serve at work, the humans that we work with, the humans that we have at home, and the people that we care about. We are really bad at taking up space ourselves and getting the help and support that we need. But it is part of what we need to do as humans. It is part of how we are going to stay engaged in the challenging work that we do, is getting the help and support of other humans, whether that's professional help, whether that is getting more help in your home environment to get work done that does not need to be done by you. It might be getting your kids to help with chores or your spouse. It might be hiring help. It's also about delegating at work, figuring out what could I be asking other people to help me out with. I can guarantee you, especially if you're a woman in medicine, that you've been socialized not to ask for help, and you might be really bad at delegating because of it. We need to break out of that habit, and we won't all have the luxury of having control over whose time we can be taking more of. But some of us have the opportunity to get at least a little bit more support, and we are really bad at using it because we are not well versed in having that help and support, or not being able to trust it. Wow, this time has gone faster than I thought it would, and yet this is a long episode. I encourage you to sit down with it again. Go back through it. Write down some of the lists. Write down some of the ideas that came to you as you sat and listened. Again, these are common patterns that we get stuck in as women physicians, and it's going to take some thinking about in order to get out of it. But because I know that we want more time for leisure, that we want more time for ourselves, that we want more time for sleep and self-care, it's really important that we figure out all the parts that are getting in the way. It's not simply that we work intensive jobs. It's also that we are trained to believe that we should be doing everything on our own, that we get dopamine hits from being the good one, from achieving things, and we may feel like we can't rest until all the things are done, and yet there's too many things for us to do. Until we start to unpack some of that, I think we'll keep doing what we're doing now and unfortunately not getting to really live our lives. So this is part of the work that is in front of us, and it's good work to do. My friends, thank you so much for your attention today. Again, I know this is a long one, but there's some important things here. Please reach out to me if you have questions or if you're interested in coaching with me. You can find me at my website, which is www.healthierforgood.com, or email me, Megan, MEGAN, at healthierforgood.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you as always for listening. To learn more about my coaching programs, head to www.healthierforgood.com. And if you love this podcast, please drop us a review on iTunes or support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care.